Okay, the third episode of Secret Invasion has dropped on Disney+, so now we're going to talk about it. Bear in mind this is going to be with spoilers. If you have not yet watched episode 3 of Secret Invasion and you plan on it, I'd recommend watching it first before watching this video. If you have watched it or you don't care, then by all means stick around. So yeah, more Secret Invasion, more dark nitty-gritty spy espionage stuff. I'll start this one off by saying that I was pretty much right in my theory last week about Gravik and his machine. Cause pretty early on in this episode, we get a scene where Gravik calls in his Skrull council and he breaks down his big plan. He's like, alright, we're gonna make our big move to take over the world, and of course the world's superheroes will retaliate, so we're gonna replicate their powers. And he even says they're gonna become Super Skrulls, which I'll be honest, I said that last week. I didn't actually know that Super Skrulls was a thing in the Marvel comics. In the lore, Super Skrulls are Skrulls that duplicate not just appearances, but superpowers as well. Yeah, I had no idea. Total coincidence. And so yeah, that is Gravik's plan. And of course we know it'll come to fruition. In fact, we even see a little bit of it come to fruition later on in the episode. I'll get to that when I get to it. But in the meantime though, alright, so Nick Fury's Skrull wife. Her Skrull name is Vara, and her human name is Priscilla Fury. Every time I say the name Priscilla, I always want to follow it up with Presley for some reason. Priscilla Fury. That's her name. So we get the scene where they're talking, and first of all, yeah, we have to adjust to the fact that Nick Fury is in fact married. That's 15 years for us knowing the character of Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and all this time he has had a wife. Is it a retcon? Is it not? Did he lie in Captain America the Winter Soldier? Does it matter? I, for one, am fine with it because, like the eye thing in Captain Marvel, it's really trivial. It is just a small detail, and there are bigger things going on. But anyway, getting back to it, the scene where they're talking, after all the dialogue was said and done, I honestly can't tell whether she is happy with him or not. I mean, obviously she seems to be happy to be in his presence again, but then it looks like she gets mad at him for vanishing on her after the blip, again without explanation seemingly. If I'm making more theories, I'm not gonna put all my eggs in this basket, but what if she is working for Gravik? Like, what if she is on his side and she's just playing the part? After watching this complete episode, I will say that is entirely possible. I don't know for sure though. Eventually we get to Talos' meeting with Gravik, and this is a really heavy scene, cause it turns out that Talos has a pretty short fuse when it comes to one thing. His daughter. Cause Gravik says, oh, you should be lucky that we didn't bring your daughter back in a body bag. And that's when Talos goes nuts. He's like, you son of a bitch. But I mean, it totally makes sense though, right? Talos is a family man. He is a loving father and widowed husband. I feel like any father worth his salt would react like that after having his family threatened like that. So ultimately, I gotta give it up to Talos. Plus, after that, he makes a pretty big threat to Gravik's cause. He's like, we're gonna tell all the armies in the world what you're doing, and we're gonna take you down. Honestly, now that we're halfway through the series, I gotta say Gravik, he is a douchebag, right? I mean, if we're just laying all our cards on the table.
Yeah, I hate him.
I thought so. But the scene ends with Talos stabbing Gravik in the hand with a knife. And then after Talos leaves, Gravik pulls out his hand like John Wick style and shit. Come on, that was right out of John Wick. But then his hand heals with Extremis, which I actually forgot to mention last week. Extremis was one of the files in those DNA files that Gaia discovered. We all remember Extremis from Iron Man 3, and it also had a brief cameo in Shang-Chi in The Legend of the Ten Rings. It's like it's making a posthumous comeback of sorts. But yeah, Gravik has actually dabbled in that machine, we know that now. Cause he's now got some superpowers that Skrulls don't normally have. Good to know. Then we get to the scene where Fury wins Talos back. And I really gotta commend this episode on the chemistry between Sam Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn. You really do get the feeling that they have been friends, like comrades, for 30 years. So even if they have an argument and they're mad at each other, they won't be for long, because they'll bond again over their common goal. I did like the scene where they're in the car just shooting the shit, which first of all totally reminded me of the scene in The Incredibles with Mr. Incredible and Frozone in the car just shooting the shit. But also we do learn a little bit of Nick Fury's history here. We learned that after the events of Captain Marvel, Talos and 19 of his fellow Skrulls, they really helped Nick Fury ascend the S.H.I.E.L.D. ranks. Again, that doesn't really matter anymore, but it is good to know how Nick Fury became director of S.H.I.E.L.D., by and large, with the help of one Talos and 19 other Skrulls. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, we were preventing World War III. We arrive at this one Skrull's house, and we're interrogating him, which again, totally reminded me of another Sam Jackson movie. I mean, Nick Fury shoots the guy in the knee, and he's like, this is bull, alright, we're gonna start getting some answers. I just really wanted him to be like,
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
And come on, you thought of that too. And eventually we do get the code word to abort this terrible thing that's about to happen. And how did we know that this plan would work?
We had a spy on the inside.
That's right, Gaia! Yeah, it turns out I guess she has been on our side all along, and I really do feel like there is some trickery going on here with the camera work and the editing of the scenes and how they're spliced together. Like, she's searching that one guy's memories for the code word, and then it cuts to Ben Mendelsohn on the phone, and then after he hangs up, it cuts back to Gaia, and she's next to that Dr. Skrull, the one from last week with the machine. Rosa Dalton? What was she doing next to her and not the other guy? There's something that went down there that we just didn't see. Again, this being a spy/espionage type show, there's gonna be a lot of twists and turns and misdirection. I like that. That's really cool. Unfortunately for Gaia, though, she ends up paying the price in the end. She is caught by Gravik, who ends up shooting her and killing her. Now, at first, yeah, I was like, well, okay, that wasn't a whole lot of time to get to know her character. If she just straight up dies halfway through the series, she did not get a whole lot of character development. Kind of an anticlimactic end to her character. However, I have seen the chatter online, and a lot of people do not think she's dead. They're not convinced. And so after doing some research of my own, I too am in that party now. I mean, the biggest evidence of this is the fact that there are scenes in the trailer featuring her that we have not seen yet so far. So right there, boom, she's probably still alive. And the Skrull that Gravik shot was some other poor soul. That's what I'm thinking for now. Doesn't change the fact that in the next episode, Talos is probably gonna get word of what happened here, and most likely he's just gonna lose his shit. I guess we'll see. And then this episode ends with a kind of tacked on scene. It's Priscilla Fury, she's in a bank, I guess, some sort of vault bank place, where she finds a gun and someone calls her on the phone. We don't know who it is, the subtitles just say man on phone, but she's like, I wanted to talk to Gravik, and the voice says, too bad, you're talking to me instead. And right when I heard that for the first time, I was like, that really sounds like Rhodes. Yeah, that sounds like Don Cheadle, which further reinforces my theory from last week about him. I mean, let's look at the facts, okay? Priscilla wanted to talk to Gravik for some reason. Gravik is our villain, meaning she could possibly be meeting him for a parlay like Talos did in this episode, but more likely, maybe, she is actually on his side. If she is on Gravik's side and we just heard Rhodes' voice, yeah, I am still thinking that some Skrull impersonated Rhodes at some point during last week's episode. We just didn't see it. Yeah, bottom line, I am still of the thinking that Rhodes is a Skrull. So folks, in the end, this episode of Secret Invasion titled Betrayed, it's keeping up the momentum. I still love the tone. The plot is certainly thickening, and of course I am looking forward to seeing what happens next week. TLDR, Gaia's not dead. So Secret Invasion Episode 3 Betrayed. Have you watched it yet? What are your thoughts on it? And do you also think Gaia's alive? Who do you think the man on the phone was? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!